After paying my entire paycheck to fix my girlfriend's car, she called me cheap for not getting it fixed sooner. That was when I realized I was just her ATM, not a partner. So I, 26, was dating this girl Sarah, 24, for about a year and a half. We had this really laid back, like chill thing going on, nothing too serious at first, just kind of enjoying each other's company. I mean, don't get me wrong, I liked her a lot. And I thought she liked me. We'd spent a lot of time together, went on a few trips, shared a lot of personal stuff, and I thought things were solid anyway. About 6 months to go, her car started having issues. She mentioned it here and there like it was a minor inconvenience at first. Oh, the brakes are a little squeaky, or my check engine light is on. But it's probably nothing. I didn't think much of it. She had a full-time job, so I figured she'd get it fixed eventually. But a few weeks ago things started getting worse. Her car wouldn't start some mornings, and when it did it would stall at random. One day she called me saying she was stranded a few blocks away and didn't have enough money to tell it. I was in the middle of a shift at work, but I immediately offered to help. I drove over, picked her up, and took her car to a shop to get it looked at. Now at this point I'm pretty invested. She'd always seemed pretty independent and responsible, so I assumed she had things under control. But her car was clearly a bigger mess than either of us had realized. When the mechanic gave me the quote, I was shocked. $200 to $200 to fix the engine, replace the transmission, and do a bunch of other work. I knew she didn't have that kind of money saved up, so I offered to cover the cost, for I didn't think twice about it. Really, we were a couple, and I wanted to support her. Plus I was doing well at my job and had enough saved up to handle it. I paid the full amount, no problem. The mechanic told me it would take a few days to finish the repairs, so I left Sarah with a loaner car, and we both went about our days. A few days later, I picked her up from work, and we drove to get the car. When we arrived, I was excited to see her reaction, hoping she'd be relieved and thankful for that everything was taken care of. Instead, she seemed annoyed. It took forever for them to finish. "Why didn't you just get it fixed sooner?" she said, rolling her eyes. As we stood in front of the car, I was taken aback. I had just dropped $2,200 to fix her car and had literally rearranged my entire schedule to help her out. And this was the response I got. She wasn't even acknowledging the sacrifice I made. I laughed nervously, trying to brush it off. I mean, the repairs took a while, but I thought it was better to get it done right. She crossed her arms. "Yeah, but you didn't exactly rush to do it. I could been driving around and something that's not falling apart if you hadn't waited so long." The way she said it felt like a punch in the gut. It didn't make sense. I was just trying to help, and now she was upset with me for not doing it sooner. I don't know why, but something clicked in my brain. Then I started thinking back to everything, how I was always the one paying for things, covering for her when she was short on cash, helping her out whenever she needed it. It wasn't just the core, it had been happening for months. She didn't seem to contribute as much as I did, not in the same way. Every time I picked up the tab or lent her money, I told myself it was fine because we were in a relationship. Relationships were supposed to be about supporting each other, right? But this felt like something else. It felt like I was just her ATM, not a partner. I didn't feel appreciated. I felt used. I tried to bring it out later that night. We were having dinner, and I said, "Look, I've been thinking about what you said earlier. I don't mind helping you out, but it feels like you're not really seeing what I'm doing here. I'm giving a lot, and it's starting to feel like you're taking it for granted." She paused, chewing her food slowly before looking at me with this blank expression. "What are you talking about? I never asked you to pay for all that stuff you offered." I could feel my blood starting to boil. "Yeah, I offered because I care about you, but it's like I'm the one always doing the heavy lifting here." "Oh, Sarah, when was the last time you did something like that for me?" Her face shifted, annoyance creeping in. "I don't need to prove anything to you. You don't get to tell me how to act just because you paid for a few things." The tone in her voice wasn't defensive, it was dismissive. It was like I didn't matter and my feelings didn't count. I wanted to argue more, but I could feel myself getting worked up. I didn't want to have a big fight at dinner. But at that moment I realized just how much I had been sacrificing. The weird thing was I didn't even know if I wanted to continue putting up with it. But then something else happened. A few days later, She texted me asking if I could loan her another $500 for something urgent. She said it was for her rent. She was short on money and had a big payment due. I stared at her message for a long time, feeling my blood pressure rise. The text was simple, almost too casual. Hey, I need $500 to cover rent this month. Can you send it over? I'll pay you back next week. Thanks. I've been giving her money for months now, helping her out when she was behind on rent, covering dinners when she forgot her wallet, and pretty much paying for everything when she needed it. But this was different. Fact that she thought she could just text me out of the blue, as if it was no big deal, was the last straw. I had given her the benefit of the doubt over and over again, thinking maybe she just wasn't good with money or was genuinely struggling. But now I was seeing things clearly. I was her safety net, her TM, and it wasn't even a we thing anymore. It was just me pay for her mistakes, her poor planning, and her lack of responsibility. I let the message sit there for a while. I had a lot to think about, but one thing was certain: I was done enabling this behavior. I decided to meet up with her that night. We had plans to hang out anyway, so it didn't feel too out of the blue. I didn't want to make it a huge confrontation, but I knew I needed to lay it all out. I wanted her to understand that I wasn't just some backup back there to pull her out of every situation she got herself into. But I also knew this conversation would be difficult. Sarah had a way of making everything feel like my fault when things didn't go away. She was twisting things around, making me feel like I was unreasonable for even questioning her actions. When I picked her up, I could tell right away something was off. She didn't seem as cheerful as usual, but it wasn't anything major. We made small talk for a while, and I waited until we were in a more private place away from people. So about that $500, I started trying to sound casual. Have been thinking this isn't the first time you've asked me for money, and it's starting to feel like a pattern of covered your rent before I've helped out with other things, and it just seems like I'm always the one carrying the weight in this relationship. She bet me, a flicker of annoyance passing over face. I told you, it's not a big deal. I just need help. Sometimes you're acting like I'm asking for a handout every day. You should be happy I trust you enough to ask. I could feel my frustration building. It's not about that, Sarah. It's about the fact that you always need help. It's never just once in a while. It's constant. I don't mind helping out, but it feels like I'm the only one making sacrifices. I've been paying for things for months, and I've never once asked you for anything in return. She let out a sigh, clearly trying to avoid the conversation. You're overthinking it, you know. No, I don't have the best financial situation right now. You don't have to make everything such a big deal. I didn't let up. It's a big deal to me. I've given you a lot, Sarah. I've put myself out there for you in ways I don't even think you realize. But when I need something, when I feel like I'm being taken for granted, you don't even notice. It's always just about what you need. There was silence for a moment, and for a split second I thought maybe she was starting to get it. But then, with the coldness I wasn't expecting, she snapped back. You know what? I'm sick of hearing this. You're acting like I'm some kind of parasite. But I've never asked you for anything. I didn't need. You're just mad because I'm not as perfect as you want me to be. For words hit me like a slap. The way she twisted it, turning everything around on me, making it sound like I was the one in the wrong for having expectations, was the exact thing I'd feared. It was her go-to tactic, make me feel guilty for even questioning her behavior. But this time I didn't back down. No, Sarah, I'm not mad about you being imperfect. I'm mad that you think I'm just here to fix your problems. I'm mad that you don't even see it. Every time you get into trouble, I'm the one who picks up the pieces. But you never seem to think about what I need. She rolled her eyes, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Oh, poor you. You've paid for a few things. Help me out a couple of times. Must be really tough. Her tone cut deeper than I wanted to add. The way she belittled everything I'd done for her was like a slap in the face. It was as if nothing I had done mattered at all. And for the first time I realized something: she had no intention of changing. She didn't care about the relationship the way I did. I was just a tool to her, someone to fix her problems and cover her mistake. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. But I was done. This wasn't going to work anymore. I couldn't keep being the one to give and give while she took without ever giving back. I think I've done enough for you, Sarah. and I can't keep doing this anymore. I'm not your personal bank, and I'm not going to keep covering for you if this is what you want. I think we're done here. For face twisted with anger. You can't be serious. You think I'm using you after everything I've done for you? I shook my head. No, Sarah. I think you've been using me for a long time now, and I'm done. The silence that followed was heavy. Suffer. Kidding, even I could see the wheels turning in her head. But there was no remorse in her eyes, no understanding of the hurt she had caused, just anger and resentment. It was like she couldn't believe I had the audacity to stand up for myself. The car felt unbearably quiet, and I could practically hear the tension thickening in the air. All between us. Sarah didn't say anything for a while, but I could tell she was fuming. Her jaw was clenched so tightly I thought it might crack in her hands, regrouping the edges of the seat so hard that her knuckles were white. I sat there waiting for her to respond, but part of me already knew what was coming. Finally, she broke the silence, but when she spoke her voice was cold, almost venomous. So this is how it is. You just get to decide your dawn, just like that. I didn't answer immediately. I wanted to say something that would make her understand, but I could feel my emotions getting the best of me. I was so tired of trying to make her see things from my perspective, only to have her twist everything around. I had tried to be patient, tried to help her, but she never seemed to see the line I had drawn in the sand. No, it was crossing into disrespect, and I wasn't about to let that slide. Sarah, it's not like that, I said, my voice more composed than I felt. I don't want to just throw everything away, but you've crossed the line. I've been there for you when you needed me, but you've never once stopped to think about what I need. It's like you expect me to just pick up the slack every time something goes wrong for you, and I've had enough. She stared at me, and I could see her eyes narrowing in disbelief. She seemed almost shocked by my words, like she hadn't ever really considered the possibility that I might feel taken for granted. You think I don't care about you? She asked, her voice rising in pitch, as if she was genuinely offended. I've been there for you too. I've done things for you. I've been a good girlfriend. I shook my head, trying to stay calm. That's the problem, Sarah. You're not listening to me. You're making this about you, but it's not about that anymore. It's about balance, it's about partnership, and I don't feel like we're partners anymore. I feel like I'm just your backup. Her face twisted in anger, and that's when I knew she wasn't going to accept it. I've always helped you even when I didn't have to. She snapped, cutting me off. You think I don't work hard? You think I don't appreciate you? You've got some nerve. You know that I didn't flinch, but my heart was pounding in my chest. I've been holding on to this for so long, and now that I was finally confronting her, I could see the real Sarah beneath the veneer of I need help and I'm struggling. She was defensive, unwilling to accept any fault and the situation. She couldn't see the pattern, and that's what hurt the most. It wasn't about me being upset over money or even the car. It was about the fact that I had given her so much, and it was never enough. No, I said, my voice quiet but firm. I don't think you don't appreciate me. I think you expect me to always fix things for you. And that's not how a healthy relationship works. It's not just about you needing help, it's about us helping each other. I've never asked you for anything like this, Sarah, not once. And now you're asking me to bail you out again. Her eyes flashed with anger, and I saw something else, something colder. It was as if she had snapped. You're unbelievable. I can't believe you're treating me like this over some stupid money. It's not like I asked you to do this every month. You're acting like I'm using you, and that's messed up. I leaned back in my seat, feeling the weight of her words pressing down on me. She wasn't getting it. She wasn't even trying. Everything I said seemed to fly right over her head, and now she was trying to turn this around, like I was the one being unreasonable. I'm not treating you like guinea pig, Sarah. I'm telling you the truth. You've never once thought about how much this is costing me emotionally, financially, all of it. You've been playing the victim, but you're the one who put yourself in this situation over and over again. She shook her head, looking disgusted. You're so full of yourself. I binged regarding, and instead of helping me like a good boyfriend, you're acting like I owe you something. Maybe you're just not the guy I thought you were. That's still more than I wanted to admit. I was trying to be honest with her, but she wasn't hearing me. She wasn't even giving me a chance to explain why I was so hurt. Instead, she was lashing out. are pushing the blame onto me like I was the one in the wrong for finally standing up for myself. Fine, I said, a sense of finality creeping into my voice. If that's how you feel, then maybe this isn't working. Her eyes widened, and for a split second, I thought maybe I'd finally broken through. But then she shook her head again, this time with a sneer. You're really going to throw everything away over this? You know what, maybe you're right. Maybe I've been taking you for granted. But you're not the person I thought you were. Either you don't even care about me, you just care about your stupid pride. The words hit like a slap. I tried to be patient. I tried to help her see where I was coming from. But she had twisted everything into something it wasn't. She had turned it around on me again, making me the villain for having the audacity to stand up for myself. I didn't know what to say anymore. I was done trying to make her understand. The moment she accused me of not caring about her, I knew there was no coming back from this. We were on different pages, and I didn't think we'd ever be able to reconcile that. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I think it's time we call it quits. This is unhealthy for either of us. For expression faltered for a brief second, and I thought maybe she was finally processing what I was saying. But then just as quickly it was gone, replaced by that same defensive of, look, you're making a huge mistake. She spat. I don't think I am, I replied quietly. I started the car and drove away, the silence between us more deafening than any argument we'd had. It took a few weeks for the dust settle, but I finally started moving on. I blocked Sarah's number, unfriended her on social media, and slowly distanced myself from everything that reminded me of her. Then out of the blue, I received a call from an unknown number. It was Sarah. She was desperate, apologizing for everything she told me she realized she had messed up in, was begging for another chance. But instead of responding emotionally, I stayed calm. Have already moved on, Sarah. I hope you can learn from this and find a better way to handle things in the future, she pleaded, asking if there was any chance of us getting back together. That's when I dropped the bomb. And by the way, you still owe me that $500, I said flatly. There was a long pause before she stammered, I don't have it. You know I'm struggling right now, right? Funny, I replied. I remember you saying you'd pay me back. But since you've been so generous with your expectations, I thought I'd remind you, if you want me to consider anything else, you'll need to take care of that debt first. I'm sure you'll figure it out. The silence on the other end was deafening. Then, after a few seconds, sure, she hung up. It felt like a small victory. But in that moment, I knew she regretted everything she put me through. The next few days were a mix of silence and reflection. I didn't hear from Sarah again after that phone call, and honestly, part of me felt relief. I knew I'd made the right choice by finally drawing the line. But another part of me, the part that had genuinely cared about her, felt a bit of sadness. I had invested a lot of time and energy into someone who was never going to value me the way I deserved. And while I was proud of myself for standing up for what I needed, it was hard not to feel like I had lost something, someone I thought was special. Weeks passed, and I focused on myself. I started spending more time with friends who actually appreciated my efforts, and started doing things for myself that I'd been putting off. It felt good to take control back, to be in charge of my own life without constantly having to pick up the pieces for someone else. I kept my distance from Sarah, though I didn't reach out, and I didn't respond when mutual friends mentioned her. Part of me knew I'd be wasting my time, and I was done being used. Then about a month later, I ran into her at a coffee shop. She was with some friends, and I could see she had changed, at least on the surface. She looked more put together than I'd ever seen her, and she wasn't the frantic, disorganized person I remembered. I felt a pang of guilt, wondering if maybe I'd been too harsh. But then I remembered all the times I'd been there for her, and how little I had gotten in return. She saw me from across the room, and for a split second I could see her face, for she looked away quickly, like she didn't want to acknowledge me. But the damage had been done. I wasn't going to be the one to reach out to apologize for taking control of my life. A few days later, I got a message from her on social media. She apologized again, not just for the way the ended, but for how she treated me throughout her relationship. She said she had been selfish and didn't realize it at the time, and she wanted me to know she was working on herself. I'll admit, part of me felt a little bit of closure reading her words, but I didn't respond. I felt like the chapter had already ended for me. Now I'm here. You're trying to make sense of it all. I feel like I did the right thing. I don't regret cutting her out of my life. But part of me wonders if I could have handled things better without the confrontation or the